For years, for 3.5 years, it cost me money to be Diamond Dallas Page. You know, a lot of people think it's all about who you know or who knows you. I believe it's all about who's willing to say they know you.
Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Christina Rahm, and I am with the very famous Diamond Dallas Page. And I have to be honest, I started looking at his videos and all the things that he's done, and I was extremely impressed. Believe it or not, I have been to WWE events and I have watched them on television. And everyone thinks when I'm a scientist or a doctor that I don't do things like that, but I actually. I have 4 children, and I just have to say this. My sons, I had to tear them away from the television screen when they were little because they just loved watching you and other people like you. So it's really interesting to meet you today.
Well, you just answered my question, but I was going to say, I was curious, why you would want a professional wrestler. I mean, I got to be the first professional wrestler you've had on your podcast.
You are definitely the first professional wrestler, but I love, we're in 90 countries and I love exposing our audience to different people. And we actually have some workout products that I made as a scientist that have different peptides in it. And we also have a product that's kind of like Ozempic, but it's natural.
Right?
So we have this whole thing we pushed out like 9 months ago, and people started really, the bodybuilding industry started really getting into this. So I actually have really wanted to reach out and be able to talk to someone like you. And thankfully, Dustin helped set this up. So I'm very excited to talk to you today.
Well, that's cool. I didn't know there was something that was natural for that Ozempic thing, because the people I
Yeah.
have talked to who have used it, the biggest thing that they say about it is it gets me out of my head. Like that voice saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm hungry, I'm
Yeah, yeah,
hungry.
yeah, 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 yeah. It helps a lot of people. And my background, I'm from the pharmaceutical biotech industry. There's nothing wrong with those products. They are basically different types of peptides, but long-term use can sometimes be negative for some people. So
Right.
I came up with a product called Sculpt, which would basically help block the sugar and the carbs and help your body metabolize them quickly. It doesn't work as fast as the pharmaceutical version, but it definitely works. So people are basically taking that along with a product that that's called Crush, and so their muscle mass, they look great, but they lose weight. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks to see the I would say our typical is 2 pounds to 12 pounds in 6 to 8 weeks, whereas Ozempic and other products can be faster than that, as you know. Yeah.
And from what I understand, that Ozempic is that eats muscle too. Is that true?
For some people, everyone's genetics are different. It was one of the side effects in the trial. And like every product, even a natural product, right? Everybody's body handles it differently. But for some people in their clinical trials, they noticed that it was eating, yeah, the muscle. They were losing muscle mass while they were taking
Yeah.
it. And some people don't care and some people do. The problem is as you age, you have to worry about your skin sagging anyway. I'm
Right.
known for anti-aging. As a scientist, I have a lot of patents that have to do with reversal of aging and regeneration of the hair, nails, and skin. So it's one of the things that I focus on. Yeah, and a lot of the products that I make. But I'm from the pharmaceutical industry, and again, I'm not against a quick fix. Like sometimes
Right.
you need a prescription product to help you immediately. And sometimes you need it long term, but if you can do natural things, I'm all for that as well, of course, because I think that's
Yeah.
important
Well,
for your body.
that's the only experience I have is in the
Yeah.
natural world.
Well, I want
I
to
had
hear about you.
my excuse me.
I really want to hear about you because I'm so fascinated watching your videos and what you did and who you are. I really want to know how you got into wrestling. Like I haven't watched a documentary on you. I would love for our audience, and not just in the United States, but internationally, to hear your story and how you got into this area of basically being famous, because you're in the Hall of Fame and you've done a lot of things. And I say this constantly. We have this one shot in this world, and we've got to use our gifts to touch people and to really help, in my opinion, humanity. And I believe that. I really do. And I think people that have a gift like you have touched so many people. So I want to hear how you got to where you are.
God, it's so long and convoluted. But I'll give you the cliff notes. I tried it when I loved it when I was a kid. It was because they're bigger than life characters, you know, and
Yeah.
um, I from I was 12 years old, like I thought I'm going to be a wrestler when I grow up. And then I got away from and got into more sports. And then after high school, I got back into it again. And then I tried it when I was 23. It didn't work out for me. I hurt my knee. I mean, I was in it like 3 months. I didn't know anything, but I went over the top rope. I came down. I hurt my knee. Same when I was 12 years old. I got hit by a car. I walked out in front of it. It hit my knee. My face bounced off the hood. Took me right out of my snow boots, and 42 feet later, I landed. And that changed my life. A lot of things like that, because I was a football player as a Pop Warner kid, and in my brain, I wanted to be playing defensive end for the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, that's the
Yeah.
way I thought, and my imagination was great. Now more manifestation is what I
Yeah.
manifested everything into. But when I look back at when I was 12 and I got hit by that car, wouldn't let me play football anymore. And that was my life. Couldn't read, reading at a third grade level at the age of 30. So football, it really crushed me. So they wouldn't let me play basketball. And I sucked. And nope, that's not to call. I mean, get out of that right now. Um, I I sucked at it, and I didn't care when I was in seventh grade because I'm a football player. And the eighth grade, I cared,
Yeah.
and I went there and I made the team because I was 6'3", but I sat on the bench. I never sat on the bench before. That summer, I swore that would never happen to me again. I nonstop if I wasn't working in my job, I was at the park playing ball. In the beginning, I sucked, but by the end of that, going into freshman year, I was pretty decent. By sophomore year, I was starting varsity, and when I look back on everything, that was the beginning of me understanding that work ethic equals results.
I'm
Inside my
so
Hall
glad
of
you
Fame
said
ring.
that. I want to hear it again for the audience. Say that again, because I keep having people tell me they don't have to work hard to do things. I'm like, well, you're different than me. So I would love for men, young men, women to hear what you just said. It
Work
matters.
ethic,
Yep.
work ethic equals results. Look, I didn't realize it at the time, but as time's gone on, so much
Yeah.
so that when I went in the Hall of Fame, inside this ring, it says work ethic equals dreams,
Wow.
explanation point,
Yeah.
DDP.
Yeah.
So now I'm 23. I hurt that same knee. I've only been doing it a couple of months. The doc said, take off a couple of months and you'll be fine. And there was no such thing as rehab. I'm
Yeah.
69. Back in 1968, there was no rehab.
No,
Maybe for the New
no.
York Jets, or top basketball teams, football teams had it, but not regular people yet.
Yeah.
And so I was in the nightclub business since I was 17 years old. I got a chance to run my first little rock and roll bar. And to be honest, the booze, the broads, and the party took me in a different direction.
Yeah.
And that was 1979. And then around 83, the WWF did WrestleMania, the very first one. And when I saw that, because I would still watch wrestling occasionally, but when I saw that, I was so mad at myself for not paying my dues because I
Oh,
honestly
yeah.
felt like I would have been in the middle of all of that. And I would prove it 15 years later. But then at that moment, I was so bummed about that. I stopped watching wrestling, wanted nothing to do with it. And then, like 3 years later, I was flicking the channels and I see a guy that I know from wrestling, this guy Gorilla Monsoon, and they play the guy's music, and he comes out and he's got a bag over his shoulder, and his name is Jake the Snake Roberts. I watch him go to the ring, the way he moved with such confidence and focus, that when he got in the ring, his stuff looked real. Like, who is this guy? And then I heard him speak, and I got pulled in by the character. All of a sudden, I'm a wrestling fan again. 6 months later, this is how God works. He walks in this big nightclub I'm running in Fort Myers, Florida. And that rekindles that, that want to be, because next thing you know, we're partying. He didn't pay for any drinks. So he told the other guys too. So if you work Tampa one night and Miami the next, that's 300 miles. Right in the middle is Fort Myers.
Wow.
Guys started stopping in and coming in, and I took care of everybody. And out of that, it drove me. I thought I was too old to be a wrestler at the time. I was 31. It drove me to want to be a manager, someone who speaks for the wrestlers, because a lot of guys, they don't have charisma. They can work, and they were great wrestlers in the ring, but they don't have it. So a manager can help give them it. And little by little, they start learning how to talk. And for me personally, I was so lucky to have been able to get in that spot, because when I say get in that spot, maybe there's 7 in the world at the time of people who do this.
Right.
And I made up this videotape of me and 3 guys who worked for me as bouncers. And I created the character Diamond Dallas Page. I created a whole backstory like you would as an actor.
Yeah.
Every actor has a backstory of who that person is.
100%. 100%. Yeah.
And so that's what I did here. And then I called one guy Big Bad John, called another guy Rock Hard Rick. And then there was a small person, Teddy Bear, called him Teddy Bear, and he'd walk out with the Diamond Dolls. And the funniest part that happened out of this, Christina, is that I sent this videotape to a company called the AWA, which was in Midwestern territory of America. And 2 weeks later, they called me back and they said, we want to bring you and your boys, you're my wrestlers, in for a tryout. We're gonna have you fly into Vegas, and you're gonna get a chance to bring the guys out. But we've got one question for you. No one's ever seen you before. Where are you working at? That's how good my tape was.
I love this story. This is amazing, because this is what I believe. You have an it factor. Like first of all, you have to have an it factor, and you have it. You can see it when you meet you, but then you worked really hard and you did something other people would be scared to do. And I love hearing this story, because I feel like I just want, right now in our world, as a female, I'm doing a bunch of mentorship. We have a foundation. I do a lot of different things to encourage the younger generation to have hope, to keep going, because for some reason, we've created a generation where people are scared to fail, right? And I love hearing this story, because you weren't scared to fail. You just did it. You jumped in. And I would say 99%, and I want to tell the audience this, 99% of the people would have probably said to Diamond Dallas, this will never work, right? They would never.
Everyone.
Like, you're gonna fail at this, but you did it anyway. So what did you say when they said they didn't know who you were?
Well, but personally, I want to do, because you mentioned on hope, and I want to say is, I think that hope is the most powerful emotion on the planet, and too many people have lost that. You see, that's with what my program I do today, and the examples I've led in my life. I help you get that hope back. And it's just a flicker. That's all you need. And then, like people who come from my DDP Yoga program, which we'll get to, like so many of them come to the community, which started with 3 guys and 2 girls helping to keep each other accountable. Now there's 78,000 people on Facebook. You go there looking for hope. If you put the work in, you not only get the hope back, you end up becoming the inspiration to others. And how am I an inspiration? So they can't believe it, but just because they're doing something they wish they could do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
back to where
Love that.
the guy says to me, he says, so we've got one question, where are you guys working at? And I said, well, Rob, the truth is none of those guys can wrestle. He was like, what? Why would you bother sending the tape in? I said, because it's like a secret society. No one could figure out back then how to get
Yeah.
in.
Oh my
And
gosh, that's a great
I said,
story.
if there's a place you could send them to train, I would love to hook that up. I said, but if you just need someone who can talk, like I'm ready right now. And the only reason I was really ready was because I've been running nightclubs since I've been working them since I was a kid.
Yeah.
I've been on the stage. I've been in the DJ booth. I'd be doing, whether it was a hot legs contest, whatever it is to get the people going. I also did, all of our radio commercials. I would, in my hieroglyphics writing of how to, to see what I need to, say in the 1 minute spot, I was used to doing 30-second spots, 1 minute spots. So I knew you've got a minute and a half on this, you get used to that. You only get used to it through repetition. So what happened is they basically said, don't call us, we'll call you, and hung up on me. But there was a guy who's one of the biggest stars in the world right now. His name is Paul Heyman. And he was, like me, a manager back then. He still is today, but he's a very big focal point on the WWE. He's one of the top guys. He's one of the brainiacs who come up with so many different, storylines and angles and how the talent should be portrayed. And he's great at it. He said, way back then in 1988, he said, I'm leaving and I'm going to be going over to this next territory that's going to become Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling. And he said, you should bring that DDP cat in here. Let him, he'll light this place up. And that's how I got in. And then for years, for 3.5 years, it cost me money to be Diamond Dallas Page because it didn't get paid anything, enough to get there and get home, but you ain't making any money. My gimmicks and my look, and I really wore zebra skin jackets, and I was like I was like a rock and roll guy who ran a nightclub, who wished he was a wrestler. So
I love it.
Bottom line is I've made a lot of relationships, and this is the most important part of that whole story is, a lot of people think it's all about who you know or who knows you. I believe it's all about who's willing to say they know you, who's willing to pick up the phone, make a call for you, put their name on the line for you. And I was lucky enough to meet this guy, Dusty Rhodes, who became my mentor, my big brother. Sometimes he was like my dad. He was one of the biggest names ever in our business. And between him and Jake, they would end up becoming my mentors. And these are two guys who are at its highest high. And when I went to Ted Turner's World Championship Wrestling and finally got paid, I'm making some money, I'm not losing money. And 6 months in, they were like, we can't let you do this anymore. We're okay with the production you're doing in the back, but we can't let you manage anymore. And I'm like, well, what did I do wrong? I'll fix it. Well, the guy says to me, he says, well, it's not your fault. I go, if it's not my fault, we can fix it. He goes, well, not really. It's like the hair and the clothes and the bling and the diamond dolls and the wrap.
They didn't like that? Everyone loves that.
I was too over the top for professional wrestling as a manager because I was taking attention away from the wrestlers.
Okay.
So at 35, I became a wrestler. And people fell down laughing at that one. And
were you ready for that? Had you trained for that?
No, God, no. God, it was, I had 6 months left on my contract.
Wow.
And I figure I'm going to go down there and learn how to wrestle. And everybody laughed at me. They thought I was crazy. But again, they didn't know about my work ethic. And they didn't know how I would just be laser focused in on that. And it took me a long time because a lot of times in my life, I've been going 5 different directions, but
Right,
when you
right.
go
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
and then you build on that,
Yeah.
and I was lucky enough to, to have Jake and Dusty Rhodes as my mentors. And it took 6 years to become an overnight success as a professional wrestler. But
6
when I
years.
exploded, wrestling had exploded. We owned the cable networks. It was
Yeah.
the WWF and WCW, Ted Turner and Vince McMahon. And they're most weeks it was, we were number one at one point. They were number two. We each had 2 shows. We were number 3, they were number 4
Yeah.
on all of cable. Like we took over in the 90s, and it was an explosion, and the career I had was just so like it never should have happened, but it did.
But it
And it was
did.
an amazing ride. And I had a Hall of Fame career. And along the way, in going out of 98 into 99, I broke my back. And at that point, they were like, you're done. Like 3 different spine specialists told me I'd never wrestle again. That's where DDP Yoga comes from. The guy who wouldn't be caught dead doing yoga now
Yeah.
has his name attached to it.
I
But
love
back
this. Tell me
then,
about this. Yeah, because I love, by the way, I just want to tell you, your story is fascinating. And I interview a lot of people. It's really, and I love what you're saying about how hard you worked. And I love basically the world saying no, the doctor's saying no, everyone's like, no, no, no. And you're saying, I'm going to do it anyway. Because I know you don't know a lot about me, but that's been the story of my life. Christina, you can't do that. That's never going to happen. Well, I'm going to do it anyway. Right. Because for me, if everyone doesn't believe in me, that's okay. Right. As long as I believe I can get it done. But it's never meant things were easy for me. Nothing's ever been given to me. I've worked really, really hard. And I love interviewing you and telling your story because so when I saw this about you and it says Jake the Snake at the end, I was trying to remember, and Dusty Rhodes, like I had a little brother and he loved watching wrestling, right? I graduated high school in the year 1987. I had 3 sons. They loved wrestling to the point that I would have to turn it off because they're trying to take each other down all the time.
right, right.
And these kids look up to the wrestlers. People look up to the wrestlers, and I know the world. I understand. We have a manufacturing plant in Vegas. I've spent a lot of my adult life being in Vegas for different things, for the medical healthcare profession, because you know how you guys have all the big. It's either
Sure.
Miami or or Vegas or LA. But Miami and Vegas are your 2 big pools for like medical pharmaceutical conventions. So I saw all of this, but you telling me you did this despite what people told you is very fascinating to me. So my question, you mentioned a mentor, not Dusty Rhodes. I know he helped you too, but
And Jake the Snake.
who was Jake, who was the number one person that really supported you through all of this? Or did they both equally support you in that, or is it someone else?
It took when Jake started believing, Jake was the first to believe in me. Dusty was the first to believe me as a talent because he brought me into World Championship Wrestling. He brought me
Okay.
into Florida Championship Wrestling. And I used to say, Dusty, don't you think I should be a wrestler? I should start training. Maybe I could be like, the third guy of the tag team.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, baby, you're a breathing dragon manager. I'm going to be the greatest manager of all time. He didn't think I could do it. And he didn't think that when you're 35, 34, like there's nobody doing that. You're doing
No.
it, the guys who make it are starting when they're teenagers or in their
Yeah.
20s. So the way that he looked at it, he didn't want me to have the disappointment, the heartache
Yeah.
that goes with that, going after a dream you don't get. But again, I tell people all the time, the people who say, I believe it when I see it, those people never see shit. But the people who say, I believe it because I see it,
Yeah.
those are the game changers. That's you.
Yeah.
That's me. When
Yeah.
you see something,
When you
nobody
know you
else
can do
has to
it.
see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have to see it. And for Jake was really the first to believe me as a wrestler. When Dusty, and at one point, there was a new guy who came in named Bill Watson. He ended up, I tore my rotator cuff, so I was injured. My contract came up, they let me go. There was a year in between that 6 years where Jake and I just went and did independent shots all around the world. And I really learned there because no one's judging me. I got the main guy who believes in me.
Yeah.
And when I come back a year later, I go down to this place, it's a power plant where they train the guys, right? And I could go there anytime I wanted. I was the first to come, the last to leave. I set the precedent at the power plant. And Dusty was there. He's never was there, but this one day he was there. And the next day I was coming in to meet with him because I am coming back into the company again.
Right.
You know, and so Dusty sees me. He's like, "Hey, D, jump in there in the ring with this kid for a little while, and I want to see how he works." He was looking at somebody. I went in there. 20 minutes later, he's like, "Oh yeah, that's good." And I went one ring to another, and I thought he left. Well, what he did is he went in the back, and he watched on the 6 different camera angles on the 4 different rings. He just was watching what guys were doing. And the
Yeah.
next day, when I came in to see him, he said to me, "You know, D, I know you've always seen yourself as the top performer in our business, but I got to be honest with you, D, I never saw it
Wow.
until yesterday." And he said, "Whatever you've been doing, keep doing it." And that's what people, Hulk Hogan comes into the company like 2 years after that. And this is my favorite Hulk who just passed.
Yeah.
My favorite story, I told it all over in all the shows I was on. This is my favorite story. I'm in Berlin. I'm still the first match because nobody sees me going anywhere, but maybe in the middle, but right now you're at the bottom still.
Yeah.
And we call it the curtain jerker. So I finish my match. I come walking through the curtain and Hulk grabs me and he pulls me over. And he said, "How are you doing it?" And I go, "Doing what, Hulk? What did I do wrong?" He goes, "No, no. I don't see you on TV that much." He goes, "But when I do, you got some new move. You get the people involved." He goes, "This is what they're doing with you. They're putting you on the road." Hulk had just come in the company and we were doing this big European tour. And we're in Berlin. And he says, "This is what they're doing with you, putting you on the road so you can learn your craft." And I said, "No." I said, "Hulk, I haven't been on the road in 4 months." I said, "The only reason I'm here because my real name before I changed it to Dallas Page was Page Joseph Falkenberg. And the Krauts love their Germans. So
Yes.
I'm on that
Yep.
card and I got a beautiful wife that walks me to the ring."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, how are you doing it then?" I said, "I've been going to the power plant. If I'm not on the road, I'm at the power plant. I'm the first to come, I'm the last to leave." I figured out that the more you teach somebody, the more
Yeah.
you learn. The more you learn, the better you get. So I'm thank you, Hulk. I appreciate you asking me. He
Yeah.
says, "Whatever you're doing," he goes, "you need to keep doing it because it's not this year or next year, but somewhere down the line, you have the ability to draw huge money with me." And he walked away. And all I could think about, did Hulk Hogan just tell me he watched my matches? So
Yeah.
later that night, we're leaving and we got a big bus and Hulk, of course, got his, his own car. But as I'm walking up the steps, I hear Diamond. I turn around, it's Hulk. I walked in, he goes, "Come here." And he walked in, he told the guy who runs the company, Eric Bischoff, he said, "You need to do something with him." He goes, "It's not this year or next year, but somewhere down the line, I think he could draw big money with me." So now he's put his name on the line for me to him. I don't even know Hulk. I know him, but I don't know him.
Right. Right.
And what ended up happening out of it is 4 years later, we did an angle with Dennis Rodman and Karl Malone, who was this fourth leading scorer of all time for the Utah Jazz. And it was the Bulls against the Jazz. And the Bulls ended up winning, but we had already signed the paperwork for Rodman and Malone to be Hogan and Malone, Hogan and Rodman and me and Malone. So he's on the Tonight Show, Dennis Rodman for winning the championship. He's got Hulk Hogan there, and me and Malone come out and throw down the chairs and start a wrestling story angle not on the wrestling show,
Yeah, yeah,
on the biggest stage in the world.
right.
And it turned out to be the second biggest grossing gate of all time in the company.
Yeah, I
So
remember this. This is what's so interesting. I didn't know you at the time, but I remember because everyone, that was a big deal. That was
it
a
was a
major
big
big deal.
deal.
They blew that up. I
It
know.
was a big
What
deal.
year
And I
was
made
that?
it all happen.
What year was
I
that? I'm trying
literally,
to remember.
I'm sorry.
What year?
I made that whole thing happen because me and Carl had a great relationship,
Yeah,
and
that's
Hogan did with
amazing.
Rodman. So it all came together.
That is amazing. That I met Rodman one time through John Sally,
Oh,
who they all
that's a
played
good dude
together.
too.
Yeah, he's a
John
good dude.
Sally.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
He's a great guy. And I love his wife and his daughters. Yeah, really great person. So this is so interesting. This all happened, but basically you said something. You started doing yoga, or you started doing different things to help your body. What did you do?
Well, when I broke my back, they said my career's over. And I can't believe that. I'm thinking, well, what about surgery? And I didn't really know anything about back surgery.
Yeah,
Um, the bottom line is my main doctor talked me out of it. He goes, "You're going to have to retire." He goes, "Because if you continue to wrestle, you're going to be crippled and you'll be walking around with a cane or a walker." And I was pretty bummed out around that time. I call it emotional gravity. Nobody can pull
yeah,
you down more than you, right?
yeah, 100%.
And uh, I started doing the rehab, but it wasn't really helping. It wasn't giving me what I needed. And at that time, I was married to a woman named Kimberly, and super smart, great athlete. She's like, you should really do yoga to try yoga to heal your body. And I was not that guy. Like, I'm not doing that. And she bullied me, and I'm so thankful she bullied me into it because I'll do anything. I'll try anything. But yoga, to me it was a woman's workout. It's not a workout for me. But I was so ignorant and so wrong. I was so lucky that within the first 3 weeks, I started to feel a significant difference. And I'm still doing the rehab, but every
Right.
morning I'm doing morning and night. And when me and her start, she's like Gumby. She can do anything.
Yeah,
Me, I grab a chair because
yeah,
I can't even balance. I can't do any of it. Can't get up, can't get down. So I started with a chair, helping myself. And little by little, the chair went away and it became a block. And
yeah,
then, lowered my knees a lot as I was going through it. But the really magical time, what really happened was about three weeks into it, maybe four, I'm doing some of the rehab and the yoga moves before I go to bed. I'm just making up a little bit of a flow. I'm like, wow, that
right.
kind of works. So I started doing my own thing, and I'd go and I'd just do the yoga tape, but then I'd come back and take more stuff from that to do the rehab. And I mixed them both, and then I threw in like old school calisthenics because I
Yeah,
couldn't even lift weights because my back was so bad. I want to take a chance of hurting anything. And I feel like I'm getting stronger. So I threw in old school calisthenics, push ups, squats, crunches. And I did them with a slow burn movement because I had to. And what I realized is science. Every time you flex or engage a muscle, your heart has to beat faster to get the blood to the muscle.
right.
Hence, you start to develop a cardiovascular workout. So,
Yeah,
completely by accident, Christina, I create this workout that's kick ass cardio. And I can prove it because I'm wearing a heart monitor at the time. Kick ass cardio dramatically increased my flexibility, strengthened my core at a whole different level, all with minimal to zero impact. In less than 3 months, I'm back in the ring. At 42, those doctors said my wrestling career is over. At 43, I'm the oldest world heavyweight champion crowned for his first time. And that's like our Oscar. And I
yeah.
would have it on
Oh,
three
yeah.
separate occasions. And like I always show when I'm speaking or
Funny.
corporately or whatever, I'll grab it and right here so people can see like my flexibility is huge, but core strength. Whoops, squishy sneakers here. All
Yeah.
right. Don't move anything there, Mark. Boom, boom, boom. 6'4". 224 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal.
That's
And
amazing what you just did. So just because
69
you,
years young.
wow, wow.
69.
So are you teaching
So
classes or how do people find out about how to do this?
I I was using videotape. I used a
Oh,
videotape, and I couldn't do hardly any of the moves in the beginning, but as time went on, I kept adding it to it got to a point where I would do it 3 hours a day, but I didn't do it all at one time. Start
yeah,
out with, 20 minutes in the morning, then I'll hit my hour late morning, and then I do another 30 minutes, another 40 minutes. And that's what got me back in the ring. And like being with Hulk, I begged him to let me help him. He had 11 back surgeries.
wow.
11. Most guys, they're today not as bad, but back then, guys did not. I get it. They don't see yoga. "Ah, I'm not going to do yoga,
Yeah, yeah,
which is the craziest thing ever because it's the best workout. It's the glue.
it
If you're going
is.
to be like someone who
Yeah,
does CrossFit, you absolutely should be doing yoga, some
I
kind of
agree.
yoga. If you're not
I
doing
agree.
mine, and,
Yeah,
and I don't call mine yoga because I mean, I'm flexing and engaging and punching and like I'm doing a lot of things to keep your heart rate high. And I'm
right.
also breaking up scar tissue to get more mobility.
Yeah,
To be able to hold that foot with squishy sneakers and tight jeans on,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
focus. And I can do it at any point in time. My
yeah.
body is strong like that. And again, I'm not preparing for 70. God, it's going to be here in 8 months. I'm preparing for 80, 90, 100, and 110. I'm not going to
100%.
put a limit on it
Right.
because it's all about how you do this, how
Yep.
you hold back the hands of time. Like the people that we have, the stories that we have, they're all like video. They're like mini short movies of
Yeah.
people who start because when you start with me, the one thing I want you to start with is the list on my app. It's the very first thing it's going to ask you, and you understand this. What's your why? Why are you doing this? What's
Yeah.
brought you to this point? And so many people, and the reason why they're so willing to try anything at this point, they're in such pain. They eat garbage. They don't realize how bad the food is beating up their body internally. And
Right.
again, like I've heard people say, gluten free, what a fad. No, it's not. There's nothing realer than that. And I know because of my own body,
Yeah.
but so many people I help get out of pain by feeding them real food,
Yeah.
like coming in. And that's in the movie. If you want to see a documentary that we did, it's on Amazon Prime. It's called The Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And when you see him and this other guy, Scott Hall, come into my house, at that time I'm single and I'm just focused on building this business.
Right.
And both of those guys were very good friends of mine who were very influential in my career. And I wanted to turn around and help them get their lives back. And all I did was take the same thing that I did for me. And that was, eating real food and doing the workout, the DDP yoga workout, like it has everything you need in it. And it won't beat your body up. It'll help heal your body. So I've got one story after another. And like I said, so many of them are just looking for hope. Is
Yeah.
this
They're just
possible I
looking
can
for
get out
hope.
of pain?
How long does it take people to get used to your program where they can see a difference? Does that make sense? Because a lot of people want instant gratification. We just talked about that with
Sure.
lipstick and
Absolutely.
sculpt. Yeah. So how long does that take? Like, what do you tell them
Well,
when they start?
if someone does it 3 days a week, they'll feel a change. It's if you do it 4 days a week, well, you start to change your life. You
Yeah.
do it 5 days a week, you start to own your life. If they follow the bouncing, the bouncing ball, the yellow
Yeah.
brick road, as I call it, which is the list. If you do everything on that list, you won't just change your life, you'll end up owning your life. And
That's
you
nice.
end up becoming the person not who's looking for hope, is giving others hope. And then you start to get into that mindset, because that's all this really is. It's not a workout, it's not an eating plan, it's a mindset. What are you going to do? What's the 6-inch piece of real estate in between your ears? What are you going to do
Yeah.
to help you own it? Like, one of my favorite quotes ever, and I never heard it before I read it on Brainy Quote. And the quote is, the repetitions of affirmations leads to belief. And once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Now, when I saw that quote, and then I saw who said it, I was like, oh my God, I never heard him say that.
Who
And
said that?
I'm gonna tell you in a second. And I thought to myself, I know his affirmation. So let me give you the quote one more time, and then I will tell you what his affirmation is. You tell me if you know.
Okay.
This is a quote. The repetitions of affirmation, that can be really good, or that
Right.
can be really bad. The
Right.
repetition of affirmation leads to belief. Once that belief becomes a deep conviction, things begin to happen. Now, this is what he used to say: I am the greatest. I am the greatest of all time. He floated like a butterfly and stung like a bee. The one and only Muhammad Ali.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. How many
I
times?
didn't realize he
When
said
he
that.
died, on Time Magazine, that famous picture of him wearing the black and white shorts, the red gloves, and all it said was the greatest. That's how he was known. And it's
Yeah.
because he said it a billion times. He's been saying it since he was a kid. If you keep telling yourself why you can't do shit, or you're not really worth it, you're not worth it to take care of yourself. Like, people
Yeah.
say to me, what do I do when I have free time? Doing what I love to do, rehabbing, making myself feel better.
Right.
Everything that I work on to help me is how I help everyone else. Because I'm just doing what I know worked for me. And if it worked for me, there's a really good chance it'll work for you.
Right. I really, I'm going to check out the app and I'm going to try your program because I have the kind of personality where, and at my age, I need to do cardiovascular, but I also need to have, strength weight training. But by holding your muscles, as you know, by doing those intense repetition, you are doing basically a series of weight training. I mean,
No, you
you're
are.
basically using your contractions. I think that's what a lot of people don't realize. For me, because I fly, we're in 90 countries, so I'm always on a plane. It's really the only way I can work out. And that's how I've been able to maintain looking halfway decent. But I
You
would
look good.
love, well,
Don't do that.
but I need
You
a new
look good.
program. I need a new program. So I'm extremely excited about this because you're taking a combination and you're basically created a new type of working out because you're taking the physical therapy, your knowledge from your background, and the yoga and putting those together. And I think that's wonderful. I wish all of us would do that just so the audience knows as you age, if you're not doing a series of these things, then it's not just the way you look, it's the cardiovascular system, the ligaments, your entire, even your blood in the body do not, you do not have the same path of aging if you're not working out, right? And it has to be a combination of workouts.
And everybody, anybody who knows that if you've hit the 90s, late
Yeah.
80s, 90s, and you're still mobile. Some people drive in their own cars.
Oh, yeah.
They're even into their hundreds. If you ask them why, how are you doing this? Real food, exercise,
Yeah. Yeah.
any kind, walking. Walking is
Well,
better than nothing. Now, if you live in a
right.
hilly area, it's phenomenal. But
It's
for me,
phenomenal.
I want to be able to my both for my joints, like right now, my hips are really good. My shoulders and my knees are bone on bone.
Yeah.
So I've been going through a series of um, different techniques to help build the little muscles around. My knees, I can't believe how good they are. Because I went to go see my doc, and this is what drove me to do this.
So your
He's
knees,
a
are
doc,
they on bone? Are they on bone, the knees or
bone on
no?
bone. My shoulders and
I
my
have to
knees.
hear what you did for it because my father's are bone on bone. Yeah.
It's work. And
Okay.
that I will go in to say. But when I went to go see Dr. X, he's like the top doctor here in Atlanta. He does all the
Yeah.
Falcons and the Hawks and the Braves. And when I went to see him, I said, Doc, I said, can you just go in my knees or my shoulders, just scope it out, clean it up. And he said, listen, D, there's nothing at this point that I can do for you. He said, are they painful? I said, this is like a year and a half ago. And I was like, not painful, but I'm so conscious of my body. It's a nagging injury thing. He said,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing that I can do, but is eventually give you a knee replacement. He goes, but you're not going to like it. Like he's worked out with me before. He's like, you're
Yeah.
way too mobile. You're not
Yep.
going to like them. So if I was you, I'd wait till I was in pain because who knows what happens 3 years from now or two
Right.
years from now, he said. I mean, they could have a whole new knee where you can kneel on your knees. You can sit on your heels.
I don't
So,
understand why you're not in pain. You're just not in pain.
well, all the reasons why I've done what I've done. And
Right.
I and it's the little muscles. Now I'm doing a lot of static stuff. Like
Yeah.
literally, I couldn't like sit on my heels. My butt was this far from my heels, right? So
Right.
when I'm on my knees, that's as far. And then I came up with this thing I call crossroads, and it's literally putting your left leg out in front, bring your right knee right behind it, and then start breathing and working your forearms to the mat, folding forward so that you could start to create the gravity and break up the scar tissue that's in that section of the knee. And one knee is much better than the other knee. Today, I am now where I can sit on my heels for 3 breaths, which is a miracle. But I'm
Yeah.
also doing things like go into a squat. And if you can squat all the way down where your butt's on the floor almost, then get off that about 2 or 3 inches. Most
Yep.
people like me, you go to squat, that's as low as you can go. Like
Right.
that's as low as you're going to get. Now breathe and stay there, contracting your muscles, because eventually it's going to tweak your knee and it's going to be really
Yeah.
uncomfortable. So you stay as long as you can in that position, that squat, then fold forward, then
Okay.
come back. Your goal is 2 minutes. In any stretch that you really want to get into and you want to start to break up scar tissue and start to own it, it's repetition and it's length of time. And length of time is what builds the real strength. And I got to a point where I guess it was about 5 weeks ago. I got to a point where I could not only squat down into a complete squat, but I could hold it for 3.5 minutes. Like, oh my God, I was feeling so good. And we just built Paige's Retreat in Panama City Beach on the Gulf of America, that is. Uh,
Yeah.
we got beautiful, it's like a boutique hotel. My
Yeah.
wife and I built it. And it's so we can do retreats for DDP Yoga there.
Right.
And I was showing one of my buddies, from the bottom floor to the second floor, there's a pool in the middle of a deck. And I was walking, and it was dark. And I was walking down, and we literally just moved in. And I went to that last step I thought was the last step, but
Yes.
it wasn't. And I kept going. And now my foot curves under like this instead of like on a ball of my foot, does like this. And I came down all my weight on that left heel. It hurt so bad. I thought for sure I was going to have knee replacement for sure. I thought I broke my foot too. I mean, it's the impact that I hit with. The bottom line is I didn't break it. I was in I had a lot of swelling, but I used these things called jazz bands, red light therapy,
Yeah.
vibration of red light therapy. I don't know the science. I just know they work. And I put one on top of my knee and one on the bottom of my knee, then put ace bandages all around it. Then I took it off, packed it with ice, then came back with the red light therapy, same thing on my foot. And it took probably about 5 weeks to get back to where I'm almost like now I can do 2 minutes again.
Yeah.
I can't do 3.5 minutes, but right now I feel good at 2 minutes. So I'm going to stay
Yeah.
there, build some endurance. But it's really uncomfortable. And you have to change the thing, the message in your mind. When you think about, oh God, this really hurts. I'm breathing through it and going, I love
Right.
this. This is the greatest thing ever. I'm not going to have my knees rebuilt. I'm not, I mean,
Yeah.
I say it all the time. I'm not going to have my knees rebuilt. I'm not going to
Yeah.
have them because I'm going to keep working like this. That's the goal. I could be a
Yeah.
fantasy goal, but right now
It's the goal.
it's
Yeah.
going. It's the goal.
No, I love that because I think everything, again, life doesn't come easy, and every time you run into something where it's painful or it's hard, it's not the time to quit. It's the time to go further. And I say that a lot because even, I have three sons and I have a daughter, but as a female, you're kind of taught it's okay if you quit or it's okay if someone's taking care of you. But in my mind, and I guess partially because of how I was raised by my father, that's not how I think. I think, I have to get up and keep going. I can't stop. And I need to feel good about it, even when it's painful. And it's a frame of mind. You really have to make yourself think that. I had cancer at a young age. And so I guess God taught me that lesson, at a long time ago. But I love hearing your story. I really do enjoy hearing what you and Paige are doing. I want our audience to be able to find you and to follow you. And I want people to try what you're doing because I think what you've described to me makes sense as a scientist. Academically, I completely connect with that. Who cares that I went to school for a long time? In the end, that doesn't matter. It's my mind that has been exposed to so many things as it pertains to anything from what people should eat, what they should put in their body, to how they should work out. But I always say I'm not really an expert in those things. I'm just knowledgeable. And then I've worked on different formulations to help people be even better. But I really like what you're saying because it's something different than what most people are doing. And when you're talking about even the scar tissue, that makes sense. And most people aren't able to do that or they don't know how to do it. So hopefully our audience will listen to you, get your videos, get your app, and be able to watch what they're doing. Do you guys push that out on your social media or a
Yeah,
website, or where do people
absolutely.
find you?
Absolutely. And, we'll put this up there. We'll do a collaboration. I want to take care of your people who do watch, okay, and who
Yeah.
do spend the time. Just go to ddpyoganow.com and then /offer/ Dr. Rahm, DRRAHM, and you'll get 30 days on the app to try it. Now, again, if you're going to try something, don't bother. If you plan on doing something, then bother. Like if you want to make a difference in your life, how you feel again, do I look like a 69-year-old person?
No.
No, I don't act like it. I don't think like it because
Yeah.
it's 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 so wrong that seniors they so often beat themselves up and just accept that, well, now I can't do this and I can't do that and I
Yeah.
can't do this. That's bullshit. You
Yeah.
can do you can make little gains. I've got people in here that we don't use this as a workout place anymore. We only do production at DDP Yoga Performance Center. But every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 o'clock, I've got a group of 60, 70, 80, and 90-year-olds. There's like 7 of them. All work out here 3 days a week.
Wow.
And they were with me from the beginning. So many, and it's occasional they'll bring friends in. And it's like, hey, as long as we got enough room, go for it. Because
Yeah.
I want it's so important for seniors not to think that way.
100%.
Again, I'm a
Yeah.
senior. I don't think that way. You really get to control it. It's like, it's almost like you get a disease when you get into your
Yeah.
60s and you think, oh God, now I can't do this and I can't do that. And the bottom line is like you can.
100%.
That whole mindset thing, you can control that 6-inch piece of real estate in between your ears. But it's got to be reps. It's got to be over and over. One of the
Over and
things that
over.
I recently saw, and I thought this was fascinating, let's see, I want to get this right. The anterior mid cingulate cortex, the AMCC, is the only muscle that your brain has. And it's all based around how you get that muscle to grow is by, like, let's break down discipline first. Discipline is doing what you know you need to do, when you
Yeah,
need to do it, whether you feel like doing it or not. Every
100%.
time you hit that spot and you don't want to do it, but you do it anyway, your AMCC grows. Now, when I saw this, I'm thinking, is that real? So I researched. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
real. And
yeah,
it makes sense because there's so many times where I'll go to myself, I don't want to get, I'm much like everybody else. I don't want to get up and get on the mat right then. I want
right.
to stay in bed. But no, get up and do it because you're going to feel so much better about yourself. And anytime you're doing any kind of work, working out relieves stress and anxiety. So
100%.
the
I love what you're saying. It's amazing. I'm scared of flying. I was home in the United States 70 days last year because we're in 90 countries. If you ask me why I do it, what you said is absolutely a fact. If I get up, like I haven't slept a lot the last week, I have just so you know, what you probably don't care, but I haven't wanted to work the last 3 to 4 days because I'm really tired. One of the things I've learned is I know scientifically the facts behind that with the brain. I know that as you age, that's really important. And one of the reasons people age, and I hate saying this because people get very upset with me, but dementia and Alzheimer's and Parkinson's, if you would use that area of the brain, it would, if you would focus on those things, right? Your brain
right,
would work more effectively. I remember sitting in class and learning that we didn't have to have dementia if we would keep playing these puzzles, keep playing these games we don't want to do. And when I say games, everyone, just doing either activities or exercises or doing things you think you can't do. Like I don't want to ski double black when I go with my kids. And at my age, I probably shouldn't, but I still do sometimes, right? Just so that I can. So I tell myself I'm doing it. I again, I'm not really loving that I'm having that experience, but I'm not going to be, 60, 70 years old and not doing those things still. My parents are 83, 84, and I think my dad walks 4 to 5 miles a day. So it's
and
just
that's what he should be
crazy.
doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what he should be doing. If
Yeah.
you can do it, do it.
Right.
And like for me, it's like I love like when I write down here's what I've recently done, and I gotta I put in my checklist because I haven't done it completely until today. It's my good morning list. The first thing I'm gonna drink is a whole lemon, and gonna just squeeze it, throw a little bit of
Yeah.
water. Then I'm gonna do my methylene blue. Then I'm
Right.
gonna do my Wolverine peptide. Then I'm going to have my protein, my protein that we just started using, called hacking for God, hacking your health. That's our brand name, hacking your
I've heard
health.
of that.
So I
Yeah.
take that protein with my vitamins, then I do my PMF pad, and then I start going through my movements and
Yeah.
stuff. And it's old Chinese stuff that, the ancient stuff that they had you doing, just
Yeah.
getting that body moving. And then I'm going to jump into cold plunge. And then I'm going to get on the mat
Yeah.
and do a little bit of DP yoga, warm up, but just a warm up because I'm going to get on my reverse treadmill so I can walk backwards on that for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to get on my bike and do sprinting with the oxygen that's called Aero. And this is oxygen hypoxia. I'm breathing in 8.9 to 9.2 oxygen
That's great.
through
Yeah.
that whole system and
That's
then
really
flooding it with 65% oxygen. And
amazing.
that it's like that's my beginning of my day. And then where am I going to go? If I'm going to lift weights today, if I'm going to lift weights, I'm going to use what we call power cups, which are blood flow restriction training. That's
Yep.
changed my body completely again. And I never thought I would lift weights again because I stopped lifting for 16 years because I kept hurting myself. Now that I use BFR, blood flow restriction training, our power cuffs, I can 40-minute workout. I put an inch and a half back on my arms in my late 60s, between 67 and 69. So no one can tell me that we can't build muscle as we
No, but
age.
I need to get that. I need to get that blood flow training because I lift weights too, but it's the same way. Like I was a sprinter and I played sports, my whole life. And so like my knees and my shoulders, if I do too much, it's hard. So I would love to get that. I'm actually going to have our whole group listen to to this video because you have so many things and I'm like, I want to do that. I need to understand that more. I hate to end the show because this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed it. I'm going to send you Sculpt and Crush just so you can try it. You don't need to lose weight, and I know that, but maybe you can give it to one of your clients. Everything I make, just so you know, I clean it out and detox it before I make it. I'm really big into
That's
cleaning
awesome.
out. Well, all of our fruit, well, a lot of our, excuse me, a lot of our food and our fruit, as you know, fruits and vegetables and plants
Right.
have toxins. And so that's my big thing is getting rid of toxins. But you have been amazing. You have absolutely been phenomenal. I loved hearing your story and I can't wait to show this.